Again, where has he said it? What he said is, गालियाँ सुन के दुआ दो, पाके दुख आराम दो. Two different things, absolutely nothing in common. Paake dukh aram do means if somebody causes trouble to you, you create ease and comfort for him. Try to help him and serve him so that to win him over. That is afa wa aslaha is exactly this. This confirms to the teachings of the Holy Quran. And galiyan sun ke dua do again, it has the same principle. That if somebody indulges in invectives against you, you should pray for him, but not like a fakir. Somebody, a beggar who comes to you and he begs for money, and then some people, of course, I know, start abusing such fakirs, such beggars. In response, he always says, okay, God save you, God do some, be God kind to you and make sure He show His favors to you and so on. These are the standard answers of the beggars in our country, even if they are abused. So this is not the attitude which is being taught by Hazrat Masih Maud Salatu Wasalam. If you have understood this, you have completely misunderstood Masih Maud Salatu Wasalam. What he says is this, that if you are harshly treated, pray in the regular sense at night when it is the time for prayer, or when you are privately praying, not loudly to tell him that we are praying to you. That is a beggarly attitude which is not taught to Ahmadis. So in private, when you are speaking to your God, you pray for such people. That would not only purify your heart, but also change their attitude. It's not a just meaningless response or a submissive response in character. It is an effective answer to the situation, the most effective answer in fact. If somebody has hurt you by abusing you and you show patience, not that you offer yourself for further abuse at all, that's not what is meant. For that the teaching is, إِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. When such arrogant people address you, you leave the place and say, Assalamu alaikum, we have nothing to do with you. That is at the time when you are mistreated, maltreated. But when you return home and your heart is boiling and seething with hurt emotions, then instead of turning them against him, which you could do, you turn them into praise for Allah, before Allah, for him as well as for yourself. And for him that may Allah guide him, may Allah show him signs that he may repent and be guided to the right path, and so on and so forth. So this is a very meaningful, effective answer to the situation, and which can be practiced in everyday life. More often than not, you can practice it. And if you can't, then it's not a teaching of obligation at all. This is a teaching of choice. And these are two different things altogether. In the Christian teaching, it is not a teaching of option. It is a teaching of compulsion, as the Christians themselves take it. But this type of teaching, as you have referred to, first of all, it is not exactly the same as we understood. Secondly, it is not a teaching of compulsion at all. It is just a sort of strong injunction, or let's say advice, that if you do it, it's better for you. But if you can't, then there is absolutely no harm. You are not answerable if you cannot keep up with this, because the Holy Quran says, whoever abuses someone in response to his abuse, only to the same degree, even if he raises his voice in response, if the voice had been raised against him, there is absolutely no harm. He is not answerable. But he shouldn't exceed that, exceed what was committed against him. So how could you interpret Hazrat Masih Maud verses or prose against the teachings of the Holy Quran? It's impossible. You must always understand him in the light of the Holy Quran. Then you will never misunderstand him. But if you treat these things separately, then you are always likely to be misled. Yes.
As you were mentioning about the teaching of Hazrat Masih Maud, Galiyan sun ke dua do, paake do, haram do. May I just mention here another very beautiful teaching of Prophet Messiah.
Is this not beautiful? The one which you mentioned?
It is beautiful, sir, but an experience which I have gained from that teaching as well, and I found very helpful, is सच्चे होकर झूठों की तरह तो ज़रूर इख्तियार करो. And that, sir, I have found, whenever I have acted on this, the opponent has always surrendered very and showed very much humility.
Yes.
And I have actually enjoyed a lot from this beautiful teaching.
Now this is very important. This teaching which you have referred to is most essential for reconciliations, because I have been using this for last 25-30 years, and I have found in my personal experience that such cases who would not respond to any other persuasion or pressurization would sometimes respond to this teaching of Hazrat Masih Maud when explained properly, and once they understood the phenomenon, then they would generally cooperate, and I have found it work like magic on both parties, particularly in certain communities where they are very adamant in principle to prove that they are in the right. For example, here there is one young boy from Chinoti community who came here. You are from Chinoti community, aren't you? Now I have found them, although they are sometimes they are people, and many among them are millionaires, but if there is a disagreement about one ana with the closest of relations, they would continue fighting for it on and on and on, perhaps sometimes for a whole life, but will not give in, because they think that if they accept defeat, that means they were dishonest and the other was honest, or they were in the wrong and the other was in the right, so they can't tolerate it. So one ana, one paisa quarrels are known to have taken years to get solved or not to get solved, and so on. So such people, if they are told, and I have seen, this is not just one community, there are so many people like this. I am just quoting an example because he came here and he reminded me of this characteristic of Chinyotis in particular. But anyway, I have tried this on these warring factions, and I have told them that Hazrat Masih Maud has come out with a beautiful answer. The fact is that most often two parties who have gone into a quarrel, who belong to a society of high moral standard, in this condition, most likely, both the parties are genuinely convinced that they are in the right. So because they are genuinely convinced that they are in the right, how can they submit to the wrong party? Because they think it's wrong. It's the other party which should crave forgiveness or pardon, and because it is the wrongdoer who must crave pardon. This is the general principle. But this is not only limited to an honest society. Even in the dishonest society, there is psychological. Some people deceive themselves so much habitually that ultimately they do really believe that they are in the right